Hey there are two main ways that you can do a git clone in GitHub. The first way is through HTTPS, and the second way is through SSH. And these two ways are just network communication protocols that allow your computer to talk to GitHub's servers. And GitHub is going to have your repository, which is your code, and you're going to use git clone to copy those files onto your local machine. And this requires a little bit of setup to get working in GitHub, so that's what I'll be talking about in this video. I'll be going over these two ways because these are the main ways that I've ever used git clone at my jobs. And setting these up in GitHub can be discouraging, intimidating, and frustrating. And I don't want you to go through that. So I'll be going over that in this video. And once you start learning how to use git clone, you'll know how to start using Git with your code. My name is Henrik. I'm here to help you program your own applications, stress less, build more, save time, and improve lives. And before we begin, if you're just starting to learn how to code, I have a free guide called my Personalized Finance App Programming Guide. It's a free guide that goes step by step how to build your own application from no coding experience to building your first app. Basically what it does, it takes your credit card transactions and then you can categorize them into different budget categories so you know how much you're spending. And it's a fun project, and I go step by step how I would approach this, and I'll lay out the exact steps you're going to take to build this app. And it's a free guide. You can download it in the link in the description. And if you download it, pay attention to what it says. You'll definitely learn some fundamental programming concepts. All right, so here's GitHub, and then I have some repositories here. We can go to this repository, for example. And then if you go to code, you can see that there are two main ways to do a git clone. That's what clone is referring to. You can do a git clone there, and there's two main ways. And there's also GitHub CLI, but I'm not going to cover that because I've never done that in my jobs. So I'm going to go over those two, and maybe I'll go over this one some other time. Let's go over HTTPS first. So first, let's create a repository. So you go to new repository, you create a repository, and we'll just name this one HTTPS public. And I'm naming it public because I'm going to go over the public way to do it first. And what I mean by public is I'm going to make a repository that is public, that anyone on the internet can see, even you. So I'm going to create this repository. This is the easiest way you can do a git clone. We're going to create it. All right, now we've created it, and now we're going to use this link to do the git clone. So we're going to copy this link, and then we're going to open up Terminal. All right, so here's Terminal. It's an application with Mac and Linux. And if you've never used it before, you can check out my video about it. And if you're using Windows, you can download something called Git Bash, and it allows you to do the exact commands that I'm using here. All right, now I'm going to do the git clone. So you just do git clone, and then you paste the link, and then boom. And it says you appear to have cloned an empty repository. And that makes sense because we just created it and we don't have anything inside. Now I think this is the easiest way that you can do a git clone with GitHub. But if you want to make your repository private, here's what you do. So let's create a new repository. Let's make it a private one. And that's because we don't want people looking at our code. We'll make it private. Okay, now if we try to clone this, there's my public repo. And then if I do a git clone, I copy this private repo one. It asks me for my credentials. Alright, so this is what I was talking about, how it's a little more complicated to set up in GitHub. It says here, support for password authentication was removed on August 13, 2021. And then it says all this stuff about getting started with remote repositories or something like that. What does that mean? Alright, so I'm going to teach you how to be able to do this in GitHub. So what you do is you go here, you go to your settings, and then you go to you scroll all the way down, you go to the developer settings, and then you go here to personal access tokens. And then there are two main ways that you can do this. You can use a fine-grained token, or you can use the classics one. I think we should use the classics one because the fine-grained tokens, if you create one, it's always going to expire at some point. But if you use the tokens, if you use this way to do it, you can set it to no expiration. And I think that's more user-friendly. So let's just put a note for this. We'll call it the default personal access token. And then here you select scopes. You select repo for full control of your private repositories. And if you need the other options later on, you can always create a new token and select these. But for now, we'll just use repo. There's a lot of options here that you can choose for the scope of your token. So now let's generate the token. And now we have this personal access token. And we should copy it because you won't be able to see it again after this. Now let's go into terminal and try to git clone again. Here instead of using your regular password, you use your personal access token. And then there you go. It says you appear to have cloned an empty repository. So now we have our private repo. And if you don't want to type in your password, you don't have to type it again, because if you say we exit again, we exit out of our private repo. Let's delete our private repo. And now it's gone. But if you do the same command that we did earlier, it's just going to clone it for you. It'll take the password that you typed in previously and it saves it in the keychain access, and then it's going to use that password here. And there's the repo. You go inside and there's nothing inside because we just created it. Alright, now let's move on to SSH. So I'm going to back out here and I'm going to delete private repo again. But this time we're going to clone it using SSH. So this is the link you'll use for SSH. Now before we use this link, we have to create our own keys, SSH keys. Now all you have to do for SSH is type SSH keygen in your terminal. And then it's going to give you some prompts. Just press enter to accept the defaults. I usually just accept the defaults. So let's just press enter. And enter for no passphrase. And then you have your private key here, and then your public key here. So let's do cat, and then we're going to get our public key and bring it into GitHub. So we're just going to copy all of this, and then you go to your settings, and then you go to SSH, and then do a new SSH key, and then just type default, and then paste your public key there, and then add it. Now you have a key. Now let's git clone using SSH. And then you're going to get this prompt. It's just saying that this is your first time connecting to this server and do you trust it? You can say yes because we know it's GitHub. And then there's that warning again, you appear to have cloned an empty repository. So there's our repository again. Now let's try using our repository. Gonna create a file, main.c, hello. Then I'm gonna add it. Then I'm gonna commit. Then I'm gonna push it. Oh, and then I'm gonna push it. I use master because it's always been master, but I think they changed it recently to main. So let's go back to our repo. Let's reload this. And there you go, there's our main.c. Hello. And if you're confused at what I just did about how I added this file, you can watch my previous video about GitHub and Git. But yeah, that's how you do a git clone in GitHub. Those are the two main ways. That's how you set it up in GitHub. I hope this tutorial was clear for you, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll be answering them. And And where are you in your coding journey? Are you starting to use GitHub? I would love to hear your thoughts. Comment below what kind of projects you're building with GitHub. I'd love to hear how you guys are using GitHub. And if you're still new to coding and you want a project that will help you get better at coding and a project that you can use Git with, you can download my free personalized finance app, Programming Guide. And I think it's a really helpful guide because it's a project and you really learn how to code, you really learn how to use Git through a project. And this is a really good one. And you'll have me who's helping you and guiding you in coding this project. All right, thanks for watching this week's video. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. I really appreciate you, and I hope this is really helpful for you. If it was really helpful, leave a comment so I can make more content like this. Or if you want me to do something else with GitHub, leave a comment and I'll try to make a video for you. All right, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.